Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon has criticised certain European countries for their handling of the continent's refugee crisis. In an interview with the German newspaper Bild, Ban said, "Building barriers, discriminating against people or sending them back will not solve the problem." The UN chief called for a proper response to the biggest human crisis Europe has been facing since World War II. He also praised the German leadership in dealing with the influx of refugees and urged other European Union nations to follow suit. Ban's comments come as thousands of refugees fleeing war, poverty in the Middle East and Africa are stranded at European borders.
So my plea today is that we need governments around the world to show leadership, to analyze the situation, to understand exactly what their countries can do, how many refugees they can assist, and how, in which particular communities, and to what time frame, to explain this to their citizens and address their fears based on not emotion, but on a measured assessment of what can and must be done to share the responsibility and to get on top of this situation.
They flee in crushing numbers, driven by war, by ethnic conflict, by natural disasters, by fear. Today, the number of the uprooted is staggering. 59.5 million forcibly displaced in 2014.
طبعا قتل كان بجنبي واحد كمان قتل براسه تمام. انا اكلت 5 طلقات بالمنطقه هاي. عد ما انصابت خلص شعرت انه خلص انتهت حياتي. الالم كان ما يوصف.
The numbers explode upwards. 13.9 million newly displaced people. 11 million within their own country. That's the highest figure on record. A small city fleeing every day. In 2014, 1 person of every 122 in the world was forcibly displaced. Syria, Afghanistan, Somalia. Half the world's refugees are from these 3 countries. Conflict drives them out. Long savage wars condemn them to bitter exile. Alongside the refugees, those forced from their homes, but not their countries. 14 saw new conflict, new wounds, tens of thousands of the newly internally displaced. In Iraq, in Cameroon, Ukraine, Central African Republic, South Sudan. Conflicts, new and old. But one brutal constant. The young bear the brunt of suffering. More than 50% of the world's refugees are under the age of 18. In northern Iraq, a small boy cries. He is Yazidi, driven with his family from his home. He is internally displaced.
And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines, and pestilences, and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows.
I appeal to all governments to expand safe and legal channels of migration and act with humanity, compassion, and in accordance with their international obligation. This is a human tragedy that requires a determined collective political response. It is a crisis of solidarity, not a crisis of numbers.
The UN chief also says there should be understanding that people are risking their lives to flee wars, political instability and insecurity. The first priority must be saving lives and providing humanitarian assistance. Ban Ki-moon's comments came after 71 migrants, including 4 children and a baby, were found dead in a truck on an Austrian highway on Thursday, as we've just reported.
Overseas now, Europe's migrant crisis is getting worse by the day as more people run from famine and fighting in the Middle East and North Africa.
Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it shall be a ruinous heap. At that day shall a man look to his Maker, and his eyes shall have respect to the Holy One of Israel. And he shall not look to the altars, the work of his hands, neither shall respect that which his fingers have made, either the groves or the images. In that day shall his strong cities be as a forsaken bough, and an uppermost branch, which they left because of the children of Israel. And there shall be desolation.
Today, the UN said more than 300,000 have crossed the Mediterranean this year in rickety boats. Others traveled by land, but not all of them make it. Charlie D'Agata reports 71 were found dead in Austria.
Their journey and lives ended here in the back of a freezer truck on a highway in Austria. They appear to have suffocated in the searing heat. Investigators said the back door was wired shut. There were dents on the sides from people apparently trying to push their way out. Police found travel documents suggesting at least some were refugees fleeing the fighting in Syria. And among the dead, they found a young girl, not more than 2 years old. More than 2,000 miles away off the coast of Libya, another tragedy was unfolding. Bodies washed ashore, some of the 200 people who were feared to have drowned when 2 overloaded boats capsized. While rescuers did all they could to save the lives of refugees trapped in the hold of a boat where dozens died from breathing in exhaust fumes. By land and by sea, they're fleeing war and poverty, risking their lives in the hope of finding a better one in Europe. The train station in Budapest, Hungary, is overflowing. It's where we found Hazam al-Qadi, a Syrian refugee traveling with 16 family members, including small children and a baby.
There is war. Die everywhere. Die in the street.
His brother Hassan tells us he lost a leg to a barrel bomb. And they show me the scars on 3-year-old Midhat from an airstrike. They've heard about the Syrians that perished in the back of that truck who left from here just like they want to. And yet, it is still a chance they're willing to take.
Would you get in a truck? Smuggle? No problem. Truck or taxi or train or bus or anything. We need complete.
You need to go.
Yeah.
Whose is this?
That's my grandmother.
Wheelchair?
Wheelchair.
And you've pushed your grandmother in a wheelchair?
Okay.
Yes. Where?
From Afghanistan.
From
Iran,
Afghanistan?
Turkey. Next.
That's thousands of miles.
Okay. That's so hard.
Hard?
Yes.
How old are you?
I'm 18.
And you've pushed your grandmother for thousands of miles?
Okay.
Yes. Will you ever give up? Will you ever stop?
That was so hard.
You'll always keep on going?
Keep on going, okay.
Last 10 minutes, the first Syrian refugees to settle in the United States arrived in Kansas City.
Well, the controversial new plan includes bringing 10,000 Syrians escaping civil war to America. But critics say this puts our national security at risk.
We need to be clear about the origin of the war and terror. We need to be clear about the origin of the war on terror.
We need to be clear about the origin of the war on terror.
Woe to the multitude of many people, which make a noise like the noise of the seas, and to the rushing of nations, that make a rushing like the rushing of mighty waters. The nations shall rush like the rushing of many waters, but God shall rebuke them, and they shall flee far off, and shall be chased as the chaff of the mountains before the wind, and like a rolling thing before the whirlwind.
Figures from the State Department show that far fewer Christian refugees from Syria are being allowed into the U.S. than Muslims. Since the beginning of 2016, 1,103 refugees have been let into the country. More than 95% are Muslim, less than 1% are Christian, even though 10% of Syria's population is Christian.
In Europe, and something else is starting to take its place. Muslims will soon outnumber practicing Christians in Europe. That's what the Justice Minister of Belgium told a committee of the European Parliament. He explained it is not because there are too many Muslims, rather there are generally fewer practicing Christians. And the country's Deputy Prime Minister added, quote, "The worst thing we can do is to make an enemy of Islam."
Calling UK Prime Minister David Cameron racist after he accused London's Muslim mayoral candidate Sadiq Khan of the Labour Party of having links to ISIS. But London could be on the verge at this very second of electing Khan their first Muslim mayor. Joining me now, Zuhdi Jasser and Mike Gauss. Zuhdi, I want to start with you. A lot of different things here. Now, on one hand, you've got a Muslim who may become a mayor of one of the major cities in the West, I mean, with one of the longest histories. And then there's people who would say, this is a great thing. This is a sign that multiculturalism works. What do you say?
Well, I mean, absolutely. If he happens to be Muslim, that's great. Well, that is a sign that multiculturalism works and that we have a fabric of community involved in politics. But this is not just any old Muslim. This is an Islamist. If you look at his history, he supported the waiving of Louis Farrakhan's inability to come to Britain. Over 15 years, he was banned. He defended him. He's defended Islamists at Cage, an organization which is ridiculed because of its support of ISIS sympathizers like Mzawi and others.
And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, "Come and see." And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword.
magazine aimed at young children, which appears to entice them into radical Islamic ideas, meantime, has been published in Turkey. It's a colourful comic featuring scenes of parents sharing the benefits of religious martyrdom with their youngsters. Behind it is the Turkish government department responsible for religious affairs called Diyanet. The Turkey's president now is currently on tour too, promoting the agency.
Those stunning images right here in New York City, and the investigation launched tonight after an historic church went up in flames. The church, built in the 1850s, tonight in ruins, gutted by a devastating fire. Heavy smoke and flames pouring from the stained glass windows and the roof. ABC's Lindsay Janis is on the scene this evening, the fire breaking out just hours after holiday services.
Oh my gosh, it's just getting worse.
Tonight, investigators searching for what sparked this raging inferno. Flames shooting out of a giant circular stained glass window. 170 firefighters battling the ferocious blaze for hours.
I'm personally heartbroken. I can't believe it's actually happening.
Parishioners crying and hugging, watching the building burn. Just hours earlier, the Serbian Orthodox Cathedral posting this image of hundreds inside, celebrating Easter. The owners had taken painstaking efforts to restore this landmark, built in the 1800s, to its former glory. Tonight, a cathedral reduced to rubble and a few stone walls.
David, in a strange twist, there were 3 major Orthodox church fires in 3 different cities worldwide, all of them around their Easter holiday. Investigators say no direct link as of yet. It could just be an odd coincidence.
We need to be clear about the origin of the war on terror.
Belgian police raided the infamous Molenbeek district in Brussels, known as a hotbed of Islamic extremism.
Molenbeek was linked to the Brussels Jewish Museum shooting, this summer's attack on a French train, the Charlie Hebdo shootings, and recent terror in Paris.
Why is it such a hotbed for recruitment? A hotbed for radicalism and jihadism and extremism?
The war on terror is, I quote, orchestrated from abroad. These are the words François Hollande used to describe this terrorist attack. Well, the attacks that have been continuing to destroy Syria, to massacre its population, have also been orchestrated from abroad. And people in Europe need to understand that there is a war that is becoming global, that is being waged against civilian populations in particular. It is a form of neo-imperialism and neo-colonialism which aims to divide and conquer European and Middle Eastern and African and the world's population for that matter, and to make them submit to a global order that does not serve the interests of most of the people on this planet, but that does serve the interests of a very few ruling elite, a very small, tiny, and particularly tyrannical ruling elite. There is no war on terror.
There's no heaven. It
It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above a sunny sky. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one.
Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand.
I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things.
Right? Yeah. What is it? Come on, Jimmy. Seriously, the time is up. People are hip to this kind of stuff. I'm here tonight to blow the lid off it, to be the whistleblower. I'm sick and tired of the secrets and the lies. It is the secret symbol of the Illuminati, and you're a part of it. For years now, talk show hosts, people on television, people in sitcoms have been hired by the government to throw you off the track, to distract you, to make you laugh and stuff like that, make you happy and docile so you don't know what's really going on.
And they said,
Go to, let us build a city and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth.
And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men builded. And the Lord said,
Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do.